Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So every now and again on the channel, I have a video that's more of a discussion, but just things that I notice in the industry, doing all of these analysis videos on very well-known artists, but also channels that might not be that well known and independent artists, all this kind of stuff. And I'm pointing out the same things after every single video, and it seems to be, at the moment, in the current music industry, everything is edited. So if you watch my channel for any length of time, you probably would have noticed that when we're looking at a performance from the last 10 or 15 years, they seem to have not only the same sound vocally, but the same thing done to them with pitch processing and pitch correction and auto-tune sometimes. Auto-tune tends to be used live and not necessarily as a post-production technique when you're looking for subtlety, because auto-tune's a little bit more rough around the edges and a bit more noticeable. So anyway, it's not as if this is just being done by signed artists to major labels. It's being done by even people covering a song on YouTube. So it might even be informal like this with their setup. They have a microphone. They might be in their bedroom and it looks like they're singing into the microphone in this environment. They might even have a guitar, and people assume that it's live when in fact it's a pre-recorded, effectively studio track that they have recorded. And if they did miss a note when they were recording it, they then move that with pitch correction software such as Melodyne, and they make it all perfect, and then they mime along to that perfect vocal. So of course they're never going to miss a note because they've already made sure in their digital audio workstation that everything is spot on, and then they'll be miming along to it. But they'll shoot it in such a way that I think a lot of people assume that it's just a one-take thing and that they are singing live. I think the problem is everyone is scared. Every singer now on the internet is scared of being seen as not as good because they're not on these lines, whereas everyone else is on these lines. So if you're slightly flat, if you're slightly sharp, then you're not as good as other singers. And it's the only explanation I can come up with, that people do not want other people to hear their natural voice. They always want to be exactly on, the notes where their favourite singers are. So, and this is the irony, that everyone who's pitch correcting their voices onto these lines of A440 standard pitch equal temperament want to be seen as being a great singer. When you look back over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you think of all the great singers that you can, guess how many used auto-tune or pitch correction, digitally? And guess how many conformed their vocals to A440 standard pitch equal temperament? None of them. And I would go one stage further, saying that when Cher released Believe in 1998 that was using auto-tune, it was a novelty. And people don't see Cher as having one of the best voices of all time. So why would you now start using an effect that's doing the same thing? Auto-tune calibrates the vocal to A440 standard pitch equal temperament. So why would you start doing that to your voice when the person that did it in the first place in 1998 is not seen as being the greatest vocalist of all time? But the singers who are seen as that aren't on these lines. So for me, it's totally counterintuitive. If you want to be seen as having a great voice, why are you copying something that's a gimmick? You should be looking for all the expression and trying to study the voices, as we have done on the channel, of the best voices of all time and see where their voices actually land and think, right, if their voices land there, maybe I should try and get that kind of freedom in my voice in order to express more and connect to an audience on a deeper level more. Because once you get the freedom, that's what people will connect to. They'll connect to the emotion, the expression, everything that you've now got in your voice that isn't conforming your voice to something mechanical, and a tuning system that is not accurate. It's something that is, it's almost a convenience to make every note the same distance apart in every key, you know, across all octaves. We came up with equal temperament because it was that middle ground of, oh, well, you know, it's not quite where it should be, but it's close enough. So, but when you're talking about the human voice, this isn't tuned. So we've got this, what I think is a fear of failure. Exactly the same with, you know, Instagram, people uploading a picture and using a filter because they don't want people to see how they really look. They want people to see an improved version of themselves online. And that's exactly what's happening with vocalists, that they don't want people to hear their real voice. They'd rather they heard something that was an improved version of their voice and more accurate pitch-wise, because that makes them less self-conscious. But again, a huge part of some of the greatest voices of all time is vulnerability. And I'm still amazed at how, yeah, over on Instagram, there are some people who really push authenticity and say, look, be proud of who you are, because we're all unique. We all look different, and just, yeah, embrace who you are and be proud of it and you own it and all that kind of stuff. But then as soon as we get into music, it's like, yeah, but stop at the image, stop there. But we need to improve, you know, the voice so that it sounds better than you actually are, because don't embrace your own voice. Conform it to what everyone else is doing so that you don't sound worse. You know, it's exactly the same thing, but it's happening all over the place. And I'm taking out of the equation now producers in the industry who are doing this as an industry standard. I'm talking about people who feel now they have to do this to their own voice just to compete with signed artists. And again, another irony is that what they're trying to compete with and what they're doing to their voice is unmatchable. It's something you physically cannot do live. You can't do that with your vocal cords to hit the lines of A440 standard pitch, equal temperament, time after time after time. You've now got this level that everyone is trying to achieve, but they can't. So they've got to pitch correct their vocals because they can't do it naturally. So it means now everyone who's doing this is living a lie with their own voice, because they know that they didn't sing those notes. They know that they weren't that accurate, but they're still applying this to their voice. And yeah, once you've set the bar there, anything that goes below that, of course, people might see as bad. Or, oh, you're not very accurate. Oh, you're not as accurate as my favourite singer. Guess what? Their favourite singer is using pitch correction or auto-tune live. So it's almost like in order to compete, everyone's got to have this same voice that is unattainable, even by the people that they idolize. The people they're idolizing for their voices are using pitch correction and auto-tune live. And as I've said, one of the biggest artists at the moment in the music industry who's doing it live, you know, night after night after night after night with auto-tune. So it's not even the sound that they're producing. Their pitch is not where it is when it's actually heard live. So this is the problem, that if you can't hear a person's voice live, then when are you going to hear it? People do not know what is pitch corrected, what is auto-tuned. And that artist that I looked at recently, of course, her fans came out and said, oh, you only focused on the songs that had auto-tune. What about this one? What about that one? And I looked at this one and that one, and they were auto-tuned as well. It was across all of the songs that I was asked to look at. And I looked at, I don't know, 15 or 20 songs. So I've looked at a hell of a lot of songs. It's because even the fans don't realise it's going on. And that's a huge problem, because if people don't know what's going on, obviously they're now going to hold an impossible standard as the standard, saying, oh, my favourite artist and the most popular one in the industry is here. And other people who might be down here is just because they're not as good at singing. That's not the case at all. Some of these people are actually better, but this person is using something to keep their voice on those lines. Moving away from live performances, you've now got this application of pitch correction. And as some people have said, I know that some people defend the use of pitch correction and some people are against the use of pitch correction. And I always say from an artistic standpoint, because I'm an artist myself, if people want to use it, that is up to them. They can do that. It might be their artistic choice. I think every artist, no matter who they are, if they did an amazing performance of a particular song and there was one note where they were slightly sharp or slightly flat, I think every artist would, maybe if a producer said, I can just adjust that and make it a little bit closer to the note. I think most artists, and especially people on YouTube, would probably say, okay, yeah, just move that, because everything else about it was spot on and I just missed that one note. So you've got that case. You've unfortunately got what is the industry standard nowadays, which is to pitch correct everything, not just one note. And in that case of adjusting one note, it would mean that you get maybe 3 minutes 59 seconds of an authentic vocal performance and you get 1 second of a correction. Now what you're getting is 3 minutes 59 seconds of pitch correction and maybe 1 second somewhere of a natural voice. And we know with the analysis videos that trying to find the natural voice in our vocal lines that we're analysing on screen is a nightmare because they're just all over the lines. So it's this tendency to just pitch correct everything. It's such a weird approach. And I understand that maybe people who don't have a good ear for it, and might be independent artists and do it themselves at home, they might just, Melodyne, double click on it and then it just snaps it to the line. They might be doing that. It doesn't explain why it's been so badly applied in the industry, in the mainstream industry, but I can understand people not really knowing what they're doing on their computer and just, dragging it over the lines. An even deeper level to this that I think again speaks to the vulnerability or the fear of failure or never wanting to be seen to be less than perfect. It's the whole vocal coach thing, where I looked at a vocal coach where her exercises of her demonstrating just scales were pitch corrected. And there's no logical reason to do that, other than the fear of people hearing that maybe you were slightly flat or slightly sharp. But the reason there's no logical reason to do that is because the greatest voices and vocals that you'll ever hear didn't use digital pitch correction. So you should be aiming for a voice that doesn't have that. That should be the gold standard, is listen to my voice, listen to me demonstrate a scale, because you want to try and get, because this vocal coach has a great voice, they should say you should try to aim for this kind of thing, where I am. You shouldn't be aiming for a 440 standard pitch, equal temperament. So this is it. The fear of failure even goes to coaches who are teaching people how to sing. And we've seen that recently with another vocal coach who was miming and then denied that he was miming at a recent show, even though it has been proven beyond doubt. It's been shown on screen that it was the same vocal from like 1989 or 1990, around that time, that was recorded in the studio. It has been proven that it is the same audio file. But still the denial, it's all about, this fear of failure. And I think to some extent, it's just due to the industry now that everyone's pitch corrected. So if you were, heaven forbid, to demonstrate a scale or sing a song live and you missed a note, you've got to delete that and you've got to change the note, you've got to overdub it, you've then got to re-release the video that you've already released, but now with the changes, because you can't be seen to sing a note that is wrong. So, or just slightly flat or slightly sharp, or heaven forbid, show that you're human. That's how the human voice works. If anything, as a vocal coach, you should say to singers, look, you're going to have to do things with your voice in order to try and unlock it. You're going to have to make silly noises. You're going to have to go through hard times when you're having a bad vocal day, and you're going to have to work your way around those obstacles. And that's what a vocal coach is all about. Coaching you how to deal with things, not coaching you and then when they don't quite sing it correctly, delete the video or delete it and re-upload it, having now overdubbed another vocal from the studio recording. Let's just accept that everyone's different, and that way we will hear some amazing voices, because that's the only way to get there. Is some people who might think that they might not be very confident, they might think that they don't have a very good singing voice. More often than not, those kinds of singers are the ones who are the 1 in a million or the 1 in a billion, because they've got something, but they don't know they've got it. And sadly, because they don't know they've got it, they're pitch correcting their vocals because they think that's what has to be done, because they don't sound as good as other people. So yeah, that's the problem, that we're going to have a generation of great singers that we're never going to hear. If you start removing your personality from what you are producing, then it's no longer got you in it anymore. It's now you doing something that did originally contain your personality, and you're putting it through something that billions of other people are using. So it means your result is the same as the billions of other people. They've all got the same result. And your voice will look exactly the same as their voices on a chart, on a pitch graph, because you're all using the same thing. And I mean, it's totally unique, because every other effect, such as reverb, compression, delay, you name it, that doesn't take away your personality. It's still your voice. It's still where you sang those notes. It's only going to add to your personality. So once you start pitch correcting your vocals, you're taking away so much of what makes you you and what makes you unique as an artist. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and like I've already said, let me know what you guys think. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will catch you guys at the next one. Rock!